Here's what I'd tell you about moving to NYC if I wasn't afraid of hurting your feelings. You think New York is just about chasing your dreams, but really it's about waking up every day and choosing to keep going when nothing looks like the dream yet. You think the hard part will be rent, but it's loneliness that'll hit harder. It's walking past people who seem to have it all figured out while you question if you even belong here. You think you need a 5-step plan, but what you really need is the courage to start without one, to walk into rooms where you know no one, to send the DM, to show up even when you feel small. You think it'll be aesthetic coffee shops, main character energy, but it's missed trains, silent dinners alone, and 4 a.m. doubts. And yet it's also laughing in bodegas, rooftop sunsets with friends who get it, and a version of you you've never met, but will love so deeply when you do. So no, you're not too sensitive, you're not too late, you're not too lost, you're just early in the chapter, and that's the bravest place to be. So if you don't know, I moved to New York about 5 months ago now. I can't even believe it. Like 5 months ago, doesn't even feel like it's been a full month. It's crazy. So I moved to New York in February of this year, 2025. I moved here with my husband and my dog, and my light just died. I love that for me. So got here in February, literally moved here February 8th, and it snowed the day after, which was absolutely magical. But the real reason I left California was because I don't think a lot of people knew this. It's not information that I really shared, but me and my husband had been living in my parents' house for like a long time, like 3 years of living in my mother's house. Guys, I'm 30, okay? I felt immense shame. I felt like I just kind of felt like a failure. It was really hard to kind of like figure out what the next move was going to be, because me and my husband, like, we've always wanted to move to New York. We know that we're getting older. We're like, well, maybe we start a family and buy a home here in the Valley. I'm from Palm Springs, by the way, if you don't know. So like California. So we were like going back and forth. Mind you, at this time, like, bro, we didn't even have like a savings. I didn't really have much going on in my career. I kind of had started over. I was working at Sephora, and then I got Sephora Squad. Because I got Sephora Squad, I was casted for a few like modeling campaigns, which paid pretty good money, okay? And if you work at Sephora, you kind of know that it's not really the place to bring in the big bucks, you know what I mean? So this kind of became my side hustle. I got Sephora Squad, I got campaigns, I started getting some money on the side, which allowed me to save up like to a decent amount, something that I'd never really been able to do in my life. Because I'm horrible at managing my money. Like, it's bad. And by the middle of like 2024, I have like a decent amount. I'm like, okay, I can probably maybe do like a small down payment on a house. We can like, maybe let's move to Europe for a few months, or let's move to New York. Let's finally do it. Let's move to New York. It felt like the hardest decision to make. Like, we genuinely felt lost, because we were like, well, what would we do out there? Well, what would we do for work? And then if we stay here, are we just settling? Like, so then comes October 2024, and Sephora Squad surprised me with a billboard in Times Square for Hispanic Heritage Month. And me and my husband flew out to New York, and we saw the billboard. And honestly, we had visited New York plenty of times. I actually got engaged in New York. And I just remember this specific visit to New York just felt so incredible and so special. And me and my husband just bonded and got so deep and so real with our conversations. And it just felt like, I want to live here so bad. I come back home from my New York trip, and I'm like reaching out to so many people in my circle that I know, like, hey, do you know if anyone's hiring in New York? Like, just trying my best to get my foot in. And I got so many no's, like, left and right. I mean, I also applied on LinkedIn, and almost every single application was a no. So then, you know, that kind of discouraged me, and I'm like, well, maybe I'm not meant to leave. So that happens, and we come into the new year. It's December 31st, and I'm sitting in the living room of my in-laws' house, and we weren't doing much. We were just watching the ball drop in New York. And for some reason, when the clock struck 12. And I watched the ball drop and everyone like being so excited, and we're just having like a quiet night at home. It like brought me to tears. It was like this weird, like I can't I even like I think back at it and it makes me want to cry. I don't know why I was so emotional, like seeing that on TV, and just like that longing of wanting to be somewhere so bad. So I just prayed that night. I just prayed. I'm like, I'm so thankful to God that I made it to the new year. I made it here. I made it this far. I don't know what is going to come next, but I'm ready. Literally, and I'm ready to literally. January 1st, I get a DM from a friend who is like, hey, did you still want to move to New York? Like, my company is hiring. I'm hiring. And I'm like, no freaking way this is happening right now. No way. Anyway, long story short, she tells me about the position. I tell her I'm interested. I go through the interviewing process. And this is in January, okay? I get the position January 10th. They offer me the job January 10th. And they obviously need me to start right away. So I had less than a month to make my way to New York. Find an apartment, like figure out what area to move to, like just quit my job, tell my family. I literally had less than a month to do all of that. And I was like in shock. It was so weird. It was like this peace just kind of came over me, and I wasn't stressed. I wasn't scared. Like, it felt so right. Like, I don't know how to describe this stillness that was in me, but it just felt right. And because I have been able to grow my social circle because of Sephora Squad, I had met some friends that lived in New York. So I reached out. I was like, where should I go? What area should I look into? Like, I had no idea. So I literally ended up coming to a neighborhood that my friend lives at. I'm literally neighbors with her now. I blindly signed the lease, and yes, I did have to pay broker's fees because I couldn't come out here and just do things myself. Like, that was just not an option, and I obviously wanted to secure this job, so like I didn't want to spend too much time being picky. I ended up in a 5-floor walk-up in a building that is almost like 100 years old, but I like it. I think it has a little bit of charm. Now, will I stay here long term in this apartment? Probably not. The first thing we put into our apartment was a bed. We actually bought the bed in California, and then we had it shipped directly here. Picked the date. We didn't pick the time, but we picked the date, which was super helpful. So we at least had a bed to sleep in by the end of the night. But girl, let me just tell you something. So the neighborhood that we decided to go to, it's not Soho. Okay, it's not the Upper East Side. It's not the Upper West Side. In fact, it's upper Manhattan. Like, it's pretty far from everything, at least a solid 40-50 minutes away from like all the popular areas. And we get to the apartment, and it's like smaller than what I expected, like by a lot. And not only that, the fact that we saw like a situation downstairs that did not make me feel safe. And I was like, what the hell is going on? What did I just agree to? My friend actually picked me up from the airport, and she's like, so how long is your lease? I'm like, a year. She's like, okay, that's not too long. I'm like, girl, yes it is. Not to mention, when we got here, our toilet was completely disgusting, corroded, molded, like awful, just awful. And there was just like this immense wave of sadness and disappointment that just came over me immediately. And not just me, my husband too. That first day that we got here, we could not stop crying. We were like, what did we just do? We need to break the lease. We cannot be here. This is not safe. I'm scared. All the doubt, all the fear like finally set in. Let me just say something. That doubt, that fear, it felt real, right? But in actuality, I genuinely feel that was just the enemy trying to get the best of me and my mind. Because there's no way that God would have put me in a situation that would bring me harm and that would disturb my peace. So we stuck it through. We had our little Cocoa Bug here. She's an 8-year-old Boston Terrier. She's a little bit older, so we were like, a little bit concerned about the stairs, but she seemed fine. We had to step out of our comfort zone for her So that allowed us to get to know the neighborhood, know that it was actually all in our head, that it's safe, it's fine, and then we just picked up from there. It was her first time experiencing snow, so it was definitely a journey for. So now let's get into what living in New York has actually been like. The first, I want to say like 2.5 months were like really exciting because you're doing everything for the first time. I actually had never taken the subway ever. Even though I visited the city so many times, I'd never taken it. So we learned the subway system and I just felt so accomplished. And I was like, oh my gosh, like we're doing it. Like my parents would be so proud. You're like on this high of like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be my life, da da da. Because of my new job, I do travel the city quite often. Like I'm not in the same place every day. So it's definitely forced me to get to know the city. However, I was lost 90% of the time. I've had to ask strangers for directions. I don't know how to read my map because that little like thing when you're walking and it goes like this and it tells you where to go. Yeah, I don't know how to read that. Then I started to familiarize myself, and I'm also really, 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 really lucky that I already had some friends here. Some of them I know through social media, other friends I met through, just back home, some California friends. So that part was kind of nice, was like kind of having people, things to do. Off the bat, I started going to influencer events, which again, being from Palm Springs was not a common thing for me because I was always away from the big hub spots. And then I get the flu. I'm like, whoa. And it was like one of the worst flus I've ever had. I'm like literally fighting for my life. I end up getting a fever. My husband's at work. Coco is here. I still have to walk her. And I'm like, my gosh, like what if something happens? What if I pass out? What if the fever gets worse? Like, what am I going to do? Because I felt so incredibly weak. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like nobody's here to help me if something happens. And then the loneliness starts to kick in. And then you really realize, oh my gosh, like I'm literally alone. I don't have anybody to help me if something happens. And because of course no one has unlimited sick days, I still, have to muster up some strength to go to work. And then you realize how living in New York is such a hustle, down to just simply getting to work, doing your groceries, like getting from point A to point B is actually not that easy here. When you're in California, you have your car, whatever, there's different type of comfort. Girl, not here. So in the middle of me being sick, I did actually have to go back home to California for my sister's graduation. And we took Coco with us, and I think that she may have kind of gotten what we had. When we landed, we noticed that she looked fine, but then a couple days into it, we were like, wait a minute, like she's not eating, she's like super weak, like something's up. So we took her to the vet the day before we were supposed to fly out. So it turns out that her liver was overproducing enzymes because of the stress and anxiety from the flight that we took to get home. So I have to fly out back to New York the next day, and I basically had to make the difficult decision to leave her behind. So she stayed with my parents, and my little sister ended up basically helping her get better. When I tell you, coming home was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. It was weird. It's like we were mourning her, but she was still alive. And that really messed with my head. Like I was like, why am I here? Like I need to go back home. My dog is back home. She's my baby. She's everything. She got us through our first couple of months in New York. Like, how am I just gonna leave her? Now you come back to an empty apartment. Her bowl is laying around. Her toys are laying around. Like, you have a routine built. You wake up every morning, you walk her, or I come back from work and I walk her. And it just felt so empty and so sad. Now I'm living in New York without my dog. And it does give me a little bit of freedom because I don't have to like rush home after work to walk her. But I much rather have her here than to have all the free time in the world. When I was in California, I really was like, I don't want to go back to New York. I can't go back. Like I would wake up and I'd have a stomach ache because I'm like, I don't want to go home. I don't want to go to New York. Right now, we're just like going with emotions. We're praying about it. We don't know what the next move is going to be, but I've seen what I needed to see out here in New York. But I am super grateful to be here and experience it for what it truly, truly is. And I'm just going to read something that I saw on Instagram that really inspired me and really just like hit the note on what it feels like to live in New York, okay? And I'll share it on screen too. Here's what I'd tell you about moving to NYC if I wasn't afraid of hurting your feelings. Okay, it gets really real. Okay, you think New York is just about chasing your dreams, but really it's about waking up every day and choosing to keep going when nothing looks like the dream yet. You think the hard part will be rent, but it's loneliness that'll hit harder. It's walking past people who seem to have it all figured out while you question if you even belong here. You think you need a 5-step plan, but what you really need is the courage to start without one, to walk into rooms where you know no one, to send the DM, to show up even when you feel small. You think it'll be aesthetic coffee shops, main character energy, but it's missed trains, silent dinners alone, and 4 a.m. doubts. And yet it's also laughing in bodegas, rooftop sunsets with friends who get it, and a version of you you've never met, but will love so deeply when you do. So no, you're not too sensitive, you're not too late, you're not too lost, you're just early in the chapter, and that's the bravest place to be. I swear it makes me want to cry. Okay, I know that got a little bit emotional, but if you guys want me to get into details about like the more of the logistical side of things, about moving here and packing and finding an apartment and working with a broker, I don't know, finding furniture, like all of those things, let me know. I would be happy to go into detail and share what I know and the tips that my friends have given me. Actually, these cute little art thingies up here, I got them for free from my friend because she was giving them away, and she also got them from like a Facebook group that gives things away where you don't have to buy anything. And that's how people furnish their apartments out here. It's crazy. I also forgot to mention that I've actually hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. You guys, I've had my YouTube channel for almost 10 years, but I've not been consistent at all. So I don't blame anyone but me for the slowest growth on earth. Literally, what is that? It's like 10 followers each year. I don't know how to do it. Anyway, I am so grateful that you're here, and if you want, you can follow me on Instagram where I'm a little bit more consistent, TikTok as well. And then we can get to know each other. I don't know. Do you want to get to know me? If not, that's okay. If you don't know, I am a part of Sephora Squad. I'm a mentor this year. So if you guys have any questions on that, I can make a video on that too. I mean, that's all I have for now. And I will see you guys on my next video. Bye.